Hello, this is a brief overview of the Project Management Institute's Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge and the Standard for Project Management. This is often referred to as the PMBOK. PMI members can access a PDF version of the PMBOK through the PMI website. Unfortunately, they do not make an ebook version available through our library. They do, however, make the earlier 6th edition available if you are interested. The 7th represents a significant change in emphasis from earlier editions, and in this presentation, we provide a brief overview. The PMBOK Guide was first published in 1987, and the 7th edition was published in 2021. The earlier editions are process-based standards which supported good or best practice, however received much criticism. Process-based standards are prescriptive by their very nature, and overly prescriptive standards do not serve the modern project manager particularly well. The 7th edition represents a significant departure from these earlier editions. With project management evolving more rapidly than ever before, the process-based orientation of past editions cannot be maintained in a manner conducive to reflecting the full value delivery landscape. It is for this reason that the 7th edition shifts more towards a principle-based standard, designed to support effective project management and focus more on intended outcomes rather than deliverables. For the purposes of this presentation, we will concentrate on the latest edition of the PMBOK, which was released in 2021. It is structured in 2 sections. The Standard for Project Management, which sets out the underlying principles that guide behavior, while outlining the basis for considering projects and programs as component parts of a value delivery system. The second part, which is the Guide to the Project Management Body of Knowledge, sets out the project performance domain areas. In this presentation, we'll go through each of these very briefly. Projects exist within a larger system. The project management standards use the term organization when referring to government agencies, enterprises, contractual arrangements, joint ventures, and other formal arrangements. Organizations create value for stakeholders. For example, value might be created through a new product or service, by creating a positive social or environmental contribution, by improving efficiency, by productivity effectiveness, by enabling the changes needed to facilitate organizational change, or sustaining benefits enabled by previous programs, projects, or business operations. And there are various components of this system, such as projects, portfolios, and programs, and so on, that can be used individually and collectively to create value. Working together, these components comprise a system for delivering value that is aligned with the organization's strategy. The components in the value delivery system create deliverables to produce outcomes. An outcome is the end result or consequence of a process or a project. Focusing on outcomes, choices, and decisions emphasizes the long-range performance and sustainability of the project. The outcomes create benefits which are gains realized by the organization. The benefits in turn create value, which is something of worth or importance. The organization puts in place the governance system which works alongside the value delivery system to enable smooth workflows, manage issues, and support this decision-making. Governance systems provide the framework with functions and processes that guide activities. A governance framework can include elements of oversight, control, value assessment, integration among components, and decision-making capabilities. Projects exist and operate within internal and external environments. There are varying degrees of influence on value delivery. Internal and external environments can influence planning and other project activities. These influences can yield favorable or unfavorable or neutral impact on project characteristics, stakeholders, or project teams. The Standard for Project Management outlines 12 principles which serve as foundational guidelines for strategy decision-making problem solving. The 12 principles are aligned with the values identified in the PMI Code of Ethics and Professional Conduct. These 12 principles provide guidance for practice, project management, and behaviours. So we'll do a quick run through each of them just now. The first principle relates to stewardship. Stewards should act responsibly to carry out activities with integrity, care, and trustworthiness, while maintaining compliance with internal and external guidelines. They demonstrate a broad commitment to financial, social, and environmental impacts of the projects they support. The second principle, create a collaborative project team environment. Project teams are made up of individuals with different skills, knowledge, and experience. Project teams work collaboratively and accomplish a shared objective more effectively and efficiently than individuals working on their own. The third principle is effectively engage with stakeholders. Engage stakeholders to proactively and to the degree needed to contribute to project success and customer satisfaction. Principle 4 is a focus on value. Continually evaluate and adjust project alignment to business objectives and intended benefits and value. Value being the ultimate indicator of project success. Principle 5 recognizes the evaluate and respond to system interactions. This principle invokes system thinking and a systems approach, where we recognize, evaluate, and respond to the dynamic circumstances within and surrounding the project in a holistic way to positively affect project performance. The project is a system of interdependent and interacting domains of activity, and system thinking entails taking a holistic view of how project parts interact with each other and with external systems. The sixth principle demonstrates leadership behaviors. Leaders are expected to adapt and support individual teams' needs. Effective leadership promotes project success and contributes to positive project outcomes. Principle 7 relates to tailoring or adapting based on context, which is designed the project development approach based on the context of the project, its objectives, stakeholders, governance, and the environment, using just enough process to achieve the desired outcome while maximizing value, managing cost, and enhancing speed. It recognizes that each project is unique and project success is based on adapting to the unique context of project to determine the most appropriate methods of producing the desired outcomes. Tailoring their approach is iterative and therefore is a continuous process throughout the project. Principle 8 is build quality into processes and deliverables, where we maintain a focus on quality that produces deliverables that meet project objectives and aligns the needs, uses, and acceptance requirements set forth by relevant stakeholders. Principle 9 relates to complexity. Continually evaluate and navigate project complexity so that approaches and plans enable the project team to successfully navigate the project lifecycle. Complexity is the result of human behavior, system interactions, uncertainty, and ambiguity, and it can emerge at any point during the project. Complexity can be introduced by events or conditions that affect value, scope, communications, stakeholders, risk, and technological innovation. Principle 10 relates to risks. Optimize risks by continually evaluating exposure to risk, both opportunities and threats, to maximize positive impacts and minimize negative impacts to the project and its outcomes. Principle 11, which embrace adaptability and resiliency. Build adaptability and resiliency into the organizations and the project team's approach to help the project accommodate change, recover from setbacks, and advance the work of the project. Adaptability is the ability to respond to changing conditions, while resiliency is the ability to absorb impacts and to recover quickly from a setback or failure. A focus on outcomes rather than outputs facilitates adaptability. And finally, Principle 12 relates to change. where we enable change to achieve the envisioned future state. Prepare those impacted for the adoption and sustainment of new and different behaviors and processes required for the transition from the current state to the intended future state created by the project outcomes. The guiding principles in turn drive behaviors under these various performance domains. There are 8, and here's a quick run through each of them. The stakeholder performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with stakeholders and results in a productive working relationship between stakeholders throughout the project, and getting agreement with project objectives, getting support from key beneficiaries, and ensure those that oppose the project do not negatively impact project outcomes. The PMI define a stakeholder as an individual, group, or organization that may affect or be affected by a decision, activity, or outcome of a project, program, or portfolio. The team performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with the people who are responsible for producing project deliverables and realize business outcomes. This results in shared ownership, a high-performing team, and applicable leadership and other interpersonal skills demonstrated by all team members. The development approach and lifecycle performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with the development approach, cadence, and lifecycle phases of the project. This results in development approaches that are consistent with project deliverables. A project lifecycle consisting of phases that connect delivery of business and stakeholder value from the beginning to the end of the project, and a project lifecycle consisting of phases that facilitate the delivery cadence and development approach required to produce the project deliverables. The planning performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with the initial, ongoing, and evolving organization and coordination necessary for delivering project deliverables and outcomes. Through this, the project should progress in an organized, coordinated, and deliberate manner. A holistic approach to delivering the project outcomes. Evolving information is elaborated to produce the deliverables and outcomes for which the project was undertaken. Time spent planning is appropriate for the situation. Planning information is sufficient to manage stakeholders' expectations, and there is a process for adaptation of plans throughout the project based on emerging and changing needs or conditions. The project work performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with establishing project processes, managing physical resources, and fostering a learning environment. This should lead to efficient and effective project performance, project processes that are appropriate for the project and environment, appropriate communications with stakeholders, efficient management of physical resources, effective management of procurements, and improved team capability due to continuous learning and process improvement. The delivery performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with delivering the scope and quality of the project. It should lead to projects that contribute to business objectives and advancements of strategy, project benefits that are realized in the time frame in which they were planned, the project team having a clear understanding of requirements, and stakeholders that accept and are satisfied with project deliverables. The measurement performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with assessing project performance and taking appropriate actions to maintain acceptable performance. This should lead to a reliable understanding of the status of the project at any time, actionable data to facilitate decision-making, timely and appropriate actions to keep project performance on track, and achieving targets and generating business value by making informed and timely decisions based on reliable forecasts and evaluations. And finally, the uncertainty performance domain addresses activities and functions associated with risk and uncertainty. It leads to an awareness of the environment in which projects occur, including but not limited to the technical, social, political, market, and economic environments. It leads to proactively exploring and responding to uncertainty, an awareness of the interdependence of multiple variables on the project, the capacity to anticipate threats and opportunities and understand the consequences of issues, a project delivery with little or no negative impact from unforeseen events or conditions, opportunities that are realized to improve project performance and outcomes, and cost and scheduled reserves that are utilized effectively to maintain alignment with project objectives. There's a full detailed section in the PMBOK guide relating to tailoring. Tailoring is the deliberate adaptation of the project management approach, governance and processes to make them more suitable for the given environment and the work at hand. Tailoring is performed to better suit the organization's operating environment and project needs. Many variables factor into the tailoring process, including the criticality of the project and the number of stakeholders involved. Tailoring produces direct and indirect benefits to organizations, including more commitment from project team members to help to tailor their approach, a more customer-oriented focus as the needs of the customer are an important influencing factor in this development, and more efficient use of project resources. Types of things that you would tailor include the life cycle and development approach, selection processes, engagement, tools, methods and artifacts, and so on. The diagram here illustrates the process and involves 4 key steps. Select the initial approach, tailor for the organization, tailor for the project, and implement ongoing improvement. Each of the 8 project performance domains need to be considered for their tailoring needs. For example, under the measurement domain, consider how value is measured. Are there measures for financial value and non-financial value? How will the project enable data capture and reporting related to benefits realization, both during the project and after the project is complete? And what are the project status reporting requirements? You should consider each of the other performance domains and reflect on what tailoring you think might need to apply to your projects, both at an organization and a project level. The final section of the PMBOK guide relates to models, methods, and artifacts. A model is a thinking strategy to explain a process framework or a phenomenon. Models reflect small-scale, simplified views of reality and present scenarios, strategies, or approaches for optimizing work processes and efforts. And it helps us explain how something works in the real world. The PMBOK guide outlines a series of models that might be used to perform work in the project performance domains. For example, one of the models that we've already seen is the Kinefin framework. It is included here as one of the complexity models. And the argument is that it helps us understand complexity and its impact on projects, which in turn might inform our tailoring approach to planning the project. This table taken from the PMBOK guide shows how each of these models can be mapped across each of the performance domains. A method is a means for achieving an outcome, output, result, or project deliverable. The table here is a snapshot of some of the methods covered in the PMBOK guide, mapped against the performance domains. So for example, you can see estimating methods, as expected, relate to the planning performance domain, while meeting and event methods are spread across most of the other domains. Similar mapping can be done for the other methods that are used and deployed across projects. An artifact is a template document, output, or project deliverable, and there are many documents or deliverables arising from project activity. The guide doesn't describe how to develop or create an artifact, it merely represents them at a very high level. Again, through the tailoring process, project artifacts will be decided and more likely to be useful in different performance domains. The delivery approach, product, and organization environment will determine which artifacts are most applicable for specific projects. So while the table here is presented as an example, the project manager and project team has the ultimate responsibility for selecting and tailoring the artifacts for their project. The PMI have a range of guides and practice standards. The first on the list here is the PMBOK 7th edition, which is what we have been talking about in this presentation. The second on the list is a 6th edition, which is available as an ebook through UL Library. The others are all available through the PMI and are free downloads only for members. It's something you might like to consider. As a student in this program, you would be eligible for a reduced fee, and there are lots of useful resources available to members that you might find of interest and help you through your studies.